Okay, let's be honest for a second. Have you ever found yourself giving a whole novel just to explain a simple decision? Yeah, me too. Today, we're going to dig into the psychology behind that, why some of us over-explain, and how we can learn to say less and actually be heard more. Right? It happens to the best of us. Someone asks you a simple question and boom, you're off to the races, providing this mountain of evidence, a detailed history, maybe even a list of all the reasons someone might object to your answer. You might think you're just being thorough, but what's really going on under the surface? And that's really the heart of it all. This isn't just some quirky habit or a character flaw. For so many of us, it's a deeply ingrained protective mechanism. Think of it like a survival shield, a verbal shield that your brain whips out because, on some deep level, it's learned that being misunderstood just isn't safe. You know, when you've spent a lot of your life feeling dismissed or criticized, your brain just naturally goes on the defensive. It's trying to close every single possible loophole in your story before someone else can find a gap and, use it against you. And this image, it just captures that internal whirlwind perfectly, right? That feeling of sheer exhaustion from trying to manage a conversation and protect yourself all at the same time. Okay, so let's dig into the why. What actually forges this survival shield in the first place? Well, it usually comes down to a few core experiences. And when you look at these, you can totally see how they're all connected. I mean, if you have a history of being unheard, that's going to lead directly to a fear of being misunderstood, right? And that fear, well, that fuels the need to jump in and solve any potential conflict before it even starts. Do that enough, and over time, you start to doubt yourself. You start to believe your simple yes or no just isn't good enough on its own. It's a learned response, often from being in places where you felt like you constantly had to justify your very existence. And you know what? Psychology actually has a name for this. It's called fawning. You've probably heard of fight, flight, and freeze, right? Well, fawning is considered the fourth survival response. It's when you try to appease someone, a perceived threat, to avoid any kind of harm. And over-explaining, it fits right in. It's a form of people-pleasing that's really rooted in fear. You're trying to make the other person happy so they won't get mad or reject you. So here's the really crucial takeaway from all this. If you recognize this pattern in yourself, the goal is not to beat yourself up over it. It's all about self-compassion. Your brain isn't working against you. It's just using an old strategy, an old battle plan to keep you safe. The real key is recognizing when that old strategy just isn't serving you in your life today. Okay, so understanding this defense mechanism is a huge first step. Now let's get a little more practical and look at our broader communication styles. Because figuring out your default pattern, that's where the path to real change actually begins. This chart breaks it down so well. Now, that over-explaining habit we've been talking about, it often falls smack dab in the passive style. See, the goal might feel noble, you just want to keep the peace, but the end result is that your own needs get completely ignored. Now, compare that to the assertive style. The goal here isn't just about keeping the peace, it's about mutual respect. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can honor your own needs and respect the needs of others. That's the goal. And this right here is the hidden cost of being passive all the time. Every single time you over-explain or apologize for having a boundary, you're sending a subtle message to yourself and to everyone else that your feelings and needs just aren't as important. And that can lead to some serious resentment, stress, and just feeling like a passenger in your own life. All right, so if being too passive is the problem, then assertiveness is definitely the solution. So let's talk about the assertiveness advantage and what embracing this style can actually do for you. Just think about what this list really means for a second. Gaining self-confidence, reducing that constant low-level stress, building relationships that are actually honest. These are not small things. This is about fundamentally changing how you move through the world. Look, being assertive isn't about being pushy or confrontational. It's about being clear and respectful. And that right there is the foundation for healthier, more authentic connections with people. And honestly, this might be the most empowering part of this whole conversation. If you've spent years quieting your own voice or over-explaining everything, it doesn't mean you're stuck like that forever. Assertiveness is not some inborn personality trait you either have or you don't. It's a skill. And just like any other skill, you can learn it and get better at it with practice. So, how do we actually start building that skill? This is where we get super practical. This is your toolkit for becoming more assertive and finally breaking that over-explaining habit. Okay, let's walk through these steps. Step 1 is just simple awareness. Start to notice when and why you tend to overexplain. Step 2 is a total game changer. Start using I statements. This takes all the blame out of the conversation. So instead of "you're wrong," you say "I disagree" or "I see it differently." See the difference? Now, the next 3 steps are all about practice. Rehearse what you want to say, maybe in front of a mirror or with a friend. Start with low-risk situations. And pay attention to your body language. Stand tall, make eye contact. It's kind of like fake it till you make it. Act confident even if you don't totally feel it yet. And this right here might be one of the most powerful and freeing ideas in setting boundaries. No is a complete sentence. You do not owe anyone a 10-page essay justifying your no. I know it can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first, but it is a complete, valid response all on its own. And here's another brilliant, practical language swap you can start using like today. When you start with "I'm sorry, but," you're immediately putting yourself on the back foot, apologizing for having a need. But when you shift to something like "thanks for understanding," you project confidence. You're basically assuming they will respect your boundary, which, funnily enough, makes it way more likely that they actually will. And ultimately, this is the goal. Setting boundaries, it's not about pushing people away. It's actually about creating the right conditions for a real, honest connection to grow. When people know where you stand, they can trust you more, not less. And this image, it just beautifully captures that feeling of walking forward together, in sync, because you've both been clear and honest. So please, let this be your final takeaway. Your boundary is valid. Your needs matter. You are absolutely allowed to say it simply and let that be enough. It is enough. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What's one conversation coming up, maybe at work, maybe with family, where you could try this out? Where you could just state your need or your decision and then just stop talking? That single moment of silence, that's where the real change begins.